Hi, dear viewers. My name is Marvin, and these are my co-hosts, Carl and Salve, and welcome to The Businessman. In this video, we invited a guest who successfully established his firm in construction industry. Let's watch this video.
I'm Engineer Benedict Co, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer and co-founder of Buensuceco Mackay Construction, and also the Vice President of MGE Realty and Development Corporation. I graduated from University of Santo Tomas with a course of BS Industrial Engineering, and our company portfolio now is we're doing a land development subdivision in Negros Oriental. It's a 12-hectare development project, and alongside with it, we're a general contractor going into residential construction and corporate warehouse and buildings and offices. Buensuceco Mackay Construction is a corporate structure wherein we establish it through capital venturing, and we initially started as 5 shareholders, and we eventually welcomed a new investor, which is the Mackay Group, wherein we're now composed of 8 shareholders under the Mackay Group of companies.
Thank you for giving us the time today, Benedict, despite your very busy schedule. We did some research and we were very impressed with your professional background. Before establishing your business, you've held multiple key and concurring roles at huge brands in different industries. But that didn't seem to have stopped you from becoming your own boss and establishing your business. So can you tell us, how did you end up being an entrepreneur? Is this something that you've planned ever since, or was there a catalyst along the way that inspired you to pursue entrepreneurship?
I must say it's more of a mindset since then. I knew from college, going to corporate world, I always wanted to be a businessman. So definitely after graduation, I started my corporate career in my credentials, namely Smart Communications, Jollibee. Then eventually I entered into sales, Usana, ProLife UK. That's just the time when we were able to establish our own company. All of us wanted to have businesses. That's the aspiring goal. It took me 7 years before we were able to have our own business. Those 7 years were spent for nothing. They were my stepping stone in terms of experiences. With Smart Communications, I learned the back end processes of things, analyzing data. And with Jollibee, as I transferred from rank and file to supervisory and eventually assistant manager in Jollibee. This time I learned the managerial works that a person should do or should experience in terms of managing people or coordinating with different stores, which department to talk to or what resource you need to. So more of project management, my role here in Jollibee. Then with that, I was able to have a holistic perspective from end to end, from rank and file to higher level management. I've always known that real estate and construction is a very lucrative business, but it's a high risk and high capital industry. I consciously tried to do efforts to learn sales. I tried to learn on my own, reading articles. There are still printed magazine of entrepreneur then. I always read those, even though I know I don't have capital and I cannot do a business. I just read all of those.
Now let's talk about the industry your business is currently in. Why did you choose the construction industry, and what made you think that this is a good industry for a business?
We need at least 3 key people in establishing a business, regardless of which industry you're going into. First is you need to have the designer, and next you need to have the programmer, and next you need to have the hustler. These 3 people will play key roles in doing the business. The designer, that's the visionary, the business model that you're going into, what industry specific that you're going into. Next is the programmer. That's the person who has the technical skills in terms of that specific industry. In our case, construction, I'm not a civil engineer, so we had that, the programmer, a civil engineer. The next is the hustler, the sales-related person, the marketing guy. I wanted to enter construction or real estate, but I'm not a civil engineer. So you look for one. You look for a programmer of that industry, which is civil engineer in our case, in our industry. Then hustler, I'm the hustler, the salesperson or the marketing guy, which I know nothing about construction, and my partner know nothing about sales and marketing. I'm the guy there. And with the designer, it can be also a designer or financer. We could know sales and technical about the industry, but we don't have money, then we look for the financer. So it's not necessarily that you need to have all of those as an individual. That's why they're corporations, means they're a group of people with different skills or resources, whether technical, financial, or sales skills. I always wanted to enter into construction or real estate. It's just that the opportunity came. There was one time I entered Usana, which is a multi-level marketing. I met my business partner there. He was my prospective client when I was selling our products, and eventually he declined. Then after some time, he messaged me, "Hey Ben, I have a proposal. Maybe you're interested." When we met, apparently they wanted to establish a new company. We were three then. They have their own sole proprietor businesses, and given it's growing, they need to establish a company, which they're looking for a business partner who knows how to manage the corporate side of things and the sales part, which they only know how to construct. In partnership, the first test is about trust, transparency, and trust. They lay out their financials, their different projects, what happened, did they earn or not. A good thing they showed to me all their cards. I mean, there's profitable and there's net loss projects, which in reality there would be, which I appreciate their transparency. And any businesses is not all ups or gold or stars, but there are ups and downs. That's my first test, then they passed it. They showed everything. The industry is promising, but it's all not glitters. That's one of the virtues of entrepreneurs. Go-getter. You do it now if you can do it now. No more procrastination. Oh, next week, next month, let's meet next week. It's the next day. Every day since then, we met planning the company until we hired our first person. There are two dreams that I have. Have a company that's named after my father, and have a building that's named after my father. So first, the company. Initially, we started as Buensuceco Construction, BSC. The B is my the civil engineer first partner. The S, civil engineer second partner. So then C, me, the co-construction. So it doesn't sound good if co-construction. So it's more of marketing purpose. That's why it's BSC. Apparently, the BSC is the initial of my father, which was already established, set up as BSC. So I think, oh, this is destiny or meant to be.
Okay, Sir Benedict. Now let's dig deeper in BMC or the Buensuceco, Mackay Construction, and MGE. Given that the construction industry is a very, very competitive space, and we all know that it's already considered as a red ocean among businessmen. So we are really curious about this. How did you tailor your business model just to stay in the competition? And how did you identify your target market and evaluate the possible market opportunities in it?
When we started, yes, we were a startup, but our mindset was think big. Think big, but start small. So again, we start with business model. Part of the business model is setting up who you are, your brand, your vision, mission. They sound very simple or basic, but it is very crucial in establishing your business, really. We talk about among our partners, why are you here? Why you joined here? Why you started? Then we found a common goal or mission among us. Then eventually we tagged it as constructing legacies, because all of us, whether as personal or corporate goal, it was establishing a legacy for their family, for the workers, for the nation. Even made that tagline in comparison with the big guys. We really laid out the different big guys that we consider as our competitors, despite that we're just starting. In terms of branding, we found out that there is no orange color among the different contractors. Green, yellow, blue, red. We always think that eventually we will be among them. We will be among their league. It's right that we just select a color that's not existing among the big guys, so it's a color orange. And in terms of the logo, it should be commercially scalable or viable. In terms of market perception, they actually won't know that you're just starting. On paper and document, yes, oh, you just started last year. But when they see the logo, when they see your name out there, you're not saying, we just started last year. But it's also okay, you established this last year. It's not like that. So you brand yourself as if you've existed for 10 years or 20 years. And when they compare it with you, with the big guys, they would think, oh, they have the same capability. Resources, they have more financially, they have more people. But in terms of doing a project, it's just the same. That's our mindset. I would have to disagree that's a red ocean market right now. Given the build program, I must say we are now in the golden age of real estate and construction. And with that said, we never felt that we are in a saturated industry. Next, in terms of identifying your target market, as I mentioned from the branding, now with the marketing. Good thing with the digital era and social media era, there's now a same level playing field with small, medium enterprise and large enterprises. When we started, Facebook marketing wasn't really famous in the market. We were one of those who took advantage. of the Facebook marketing, especially in the construction industry. Given construction industry is conservative or traditional, and with my training, I learned that it's the most efficient way to promote as a startup, and it's the easiest way to reach the same reach of the traditional media. So we set up which specific markets. We started with residential and fit outs. There are different levels of projects in construction. So the simplest is the residential and the fit out. Second is the construction of the house. The next is the industrial, the warehouses, the buildings, the high-rise, mid-rise to high-rise buildings. There is one document that we submit in bidding project is the company profile. And we observe there, most contractors are just sending bond paper, folders, and print-bind company profile. So we thought, why not make it more professional in a magazine type? And we invested on that. When you start or when you establish a business, marketing is really the start. It attracts money, it attracts sales, it generates sales. And then even business card, we highly invested in that. It's not just the usual paper, it's a plastic, which every time that we give it, we always receive the same feedback. Oh, this is a nice business card. Oh, I thought you're giving me your ATM. Oh, that's a company that has that good company profile. Oh, it was them who had the ATM like business card. It all starts there. When you meet potential clients, you need to have a lasting impression or the first impression, right? In terms of identifying your market opportunities, price point would dictate who your market is. You set this price, your cost construction per square meter. And eventually, okay, let's try to increase it. Let's see if we would still be able to get a project. Then eventually, second year, third year, we were able to increase our price in terms of construction. And apparently, when we were able to increase it by 40% from the first year we started, we thought we were very expensive. Then eventually, when we saw the market, we're actually just average still. We still get projects despite of the price increase because first, in terms of our market perception and branding, we were able to send the message that we are capable and we have good quality. It's how the company presents itself to its client in terms of also process. So we hired accounts executive because we want the client to feel that they would always be entertained and accommodated.
So we found out, Sir Benedict, that your company has quite a lot of accomplishments. Constructing and renovating 12 mid-rise buildings, 13 offices, 3 warehouses, and 25 residential buildings. How was it when the company was just starting? What was the hardest part in establishing the venture? And what were the risks that you have considered and prepared for?
The hardest part is the cash flow management. It's a balance of managing your expenses and your sales. As much as, let's say, you wanted more sales, but before you can get that more sales, you need to invest additional engineer, additional sales worker in order to accommodate more sales, which you need to spend more before you can get more sales. Then you need to check on your capital or in your capex if you can accommodate it, if your budget can cover it. Because we do not want to consume all our cash before the cash flow inflow would come. It's a good management of cash, proper timing of spending and earning. And regarding the risk that you need to consider and prepare for, you need to ensure that you're as efficient as possible. Yes, you could earn, but you could also have losses if the usage of materials is not efficient, if the manpower are too much for what is needed, or if the manpower are not productive. In terms of materials, you need to have correct costing or quotation of the materials because once you declared it with the client, you cannot adjust it anymore. We can do allowances for any price increases, but never set the price lower than the market. Materials price lower than the market, then you would observe that loss. Once you get the material price right, now the challenge in doing while the project is ongoing is the manpower. You have a specific budget for it and you need to be able to meet or be within that budget.
Sir, yeah, next question po. So you've mentioned a while ago that business is not always golden glitter. So before BMC, do you have any failed business ventures in the past? If yes, tell us what happened and what lessons were you able to take away from this failure?
So eventually, when I sold shades to my friends, mostly to my network, I made the wrong pricing. On my perspective, I have a margin, but as I do the business, eventually I realized, I'm actually at a loss, given the transportation wasn't covered. And eventually, I did price increase. So, I mean, that's the first lesson I learned in business in setting up price and balancing OPEX to your revenue. The next, I always knew that you need to have sales experience, so I entered the multi-level marketing. Here, I learned the basic sales. I mean, prospecting, everything, all the process in sales works. I was attracted with the time freedom idea. In corporate, you are required. You are forced or mandatory to go to your office at this time and go out at this time. When you're having your own business or you're having your own time, you need to have that discipline. You still need to work at this time and be productive for these long hours. To say it simply, I just work half day of the day, which is when you're in a corporate, you work whole day, right? When I enjoyed the idea of having my own time, I became complacent and relaxed. Then eventually sales went down. That's where I learned that your sales, your income is direct work to your efforts. Sales is, yes, lucrative, but it's highly fleeting or unpredictable. You own your time, but you also own or control your earnings. It depends on you. That's my learning.
Thank you for that, Mr. Benedict. So now, may I ask, how about in BMC? Have you experienced any major setbacks yet? What lessons were you able to take away from these challenges?
95% of SMEs do not get past the 2-year mark. Actually, the easiest part is establishing your business. The hardest part is maintaining it and surviving the industry. 2 years ago, that was 2018, it was on our 3rd year, I believe. We had this big challenge where we had a cash flow problem, wherein we almost declared bankruptcy. In our situation, we don't have the cash, but we have incoming revenue. But we need to spend this much before the revenue would come in. We need to survive, or we need to be existing by the time the sales would come. So it's a liquidity problem. Then we tried everything. I mean, we got loans. Eventually, the loan would just help you for some time. Then it will drag you downwards. Then to finally solve the problem, we looked for an investor. As a founder or business owners, majority owners, it's a big challenge for us. First is to admit to ourselves that there's a problem, that we need help. And by the time when we accepted it, we were able to open up our shares to new investors. With this, we learned that it's not about us. It's not about Buensuceco and Co or the founders. It's about the company. That's why you're opening up for investors, because we want the company to continue and to flourish, and also our employees. They're tag along with that goal. And that's why we have a new investor, namely James Makki, which from BSC, it's now Buensuceco Mackay Construction, which gave us more opportunity in terms of scale, resources-wise, in terms of financially and manpower and project opportunities.
All of the businesses here in the Philippines have to deal with the government upon conception. So we're really curious about this one, Benedict. What are the challenges that you and your partner have encountered in dealing with them? And as a construction company, has the government really helped you in establishing your business in an effective way?
As an aspiring entrepreneur, they were able to help me because they have events, activities that would teach us for free in terms of entrepreneurship. I attended Philippine SME Expo Summit, and there are many expos or summits that we can attend to for free. I think the government, that the most that they can help is more of the financial or the loan opportunities. Although in terms of the bank or the credit requirements, you need to be at least 2 years existing as a company before you can take corporate loan. That's why if you don't have your financial resources outright after graduation, I really suggest you go into corporate. Either you earn, and you need to improve your credits, your credit line, so that by the time that you need to take loan, or for establishing your company, you can have it personal loan. Actually, there's a notion with the government in terms of establishing companies or businesses that it's hard to establish one. Actually, it's easy in applying business permit. Of course, you need to have complete requirements, but once you have that, it's in just a week, it will be released. Same with what happened to us. The only lacking is the information drive, that people don't know how and what are needed to be done in order to establish. But once you know it, the process is simple and easy.
Aside from the already mentioned projects and policies by the government, can you suggest other methods or actions that our government can employ to aid the business landscape here in the Philippines?
One thing that they can do or they can help with MSMEs specifically, the micro, small, medium enterprises. Because most banks, or in reality, apparently, before you can have your corporate loan, you need to exceed at least 2 years. The challenge is how to reach the 2 years. Maybe if the second year you're already having problems, but you cannot still take out loans, then definitely you will get past beyond the 2 years. And I'm not surprised because that's why 95% of SMEs don't get past 2 years because they don't get loans after 2 years. I think that's just one thing that we can improve. Not unless when starting a business you have a good personal credit line, then you can take loan personal. But for corporate, we need to have more or probably information drive. If I don't know it, it should be more accessible to starting companies. But once you have already your corporate credit line and you're on your third year, I can say it's good that it's loans or financial support are accessible.
This interview has been really insightful, and we're glad that we had the opportunity to talk to someone so young yet so passionate about entrepreneurship. A lot of future entrepreneurs would be inspired for sure. To wrap up this interview, we'll be asking 2 questions. First, what meaningful advice would you give to all aspiring entrepreneurs? And second, what advice would you give your former self when you were just starting up your business?
I always believe with law of attraction. If you wanted to be an entrepreneur, think that you will be an entrepreneur. And subconsciously, your actions, your body actions, they say what you think you become of. You may not be outright, when you think about it now, you'll be an entrepreneur now. But your decisions in life would be towards that goal. Whether you stay on the company and aim for a promotion, or you transfer to a different company and different industry to have another experience, depends on your goal and or what business you want to do. Then next is you need to be go-getter. You need to practice right now as a corporate professional. Maybe now I understand actually why our bosses or when they require one thing, they need it now, because in business, nobody will wait for you. When the opportunity is there, you need to grab it. I experienced that when I required the same with my team. We were in a critical moment. Okay, you need to know this right now. So you will be surprised, right? I mean, as an employee, you just said it now, and then you need it already in an hour. There is a reason behind it. Then what advice would I give myself when I was starting our business? I think not prior to the business, but during the business. As I mentioned, establishing your company is the easiest part. It seems glamorous and it's exciting. Oh, you have your own business, and then on your first year, everything's fun. You would become complacent. Never be complacent. Whether everything's up, I mean, there's a high sales or it's very profitable. You need to prepare for the rainy days. It's not always a good time or good cash flow or good sales moment. You need to prepare for problems so that you'll have buffer when it comes.
That's really an inspiring message indeed. Well, we really appreciate you coming in the show, Benedict. Your advice to your former self is genuinely inspiring. Let's give it up for Benedict Co. Again, I am Marvin, and these are my co-hosts Carl and Salve. This has been the second episode of The Businessman.
Scene 4, in 3, 2, 1, action!
To talk to someone so young, yet so...
Aalis na kami, Carl, sa video.
Yes, yung aking part. Ito ba yung pinapagawa ko? Pinapagawa ko rin. Para siyang Netflix